This is the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Let's go nuts! It's Jimmy Nuts! Right out of the door!
With your hosts, Mark Martinez.
Because I'm the Mark and I'm awesome!
The Guru.
Today I'm going to break it down for all you simpleton sweat hogs listening out there in Can Crusher Nation. I don't mean to come out here week after week and toot my own horn, but toot.
And the English Professor.
It is I, the English professor from the County of Kings, speaking the English of the Queen.
Hey, this is former WWE superstar Duke, the Dumpster Drosy, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Podcast.
And welcome back to another edition of Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and this is my favorite time of the week. You know that. I love the spotlights. And this week, we're going to be spotlighting somebody that's trouble. Yeah, trouble. Big Trouble Ben Bishop. You guys might not know that name, but if you're in the area of Can Crusher Nation area of Dubois, Pennsylvania, he is going to be at Ballpark Brawl in Dubois, Pennsylvania on June 19th. That's right, the big show that Al Snow, Chad Miller, and myself, maybe, are going to put together. I'm going to be there. We'll just leave it at that. So we're excited. We're excited to find out more about Big Trouble Ben Bishop. Guys, I did some work on this one. This guy is 6'12". He is huge. He's just one of the names that we have mentioned who's coming to the Ballpark Brawl. Guys, we're going to get into the interview real quick. But if you're looking for tickets, hang out to the end. We'll have all the ticket information there at the end that you'll be able to find out how to get them, so on and so forth. Also, the link is in the description. Just click on it. You're going to be able to find everything there. But if you want to wait for pricing and everything, cool. I'll tell you all that after we talk to Big Trouble Ben Bishop. But first, we have to talk about Collar and Elbow. Hats, hoodies, tees, all that cool stuff that Al Snow has over at Collar and Elbow. You can get a discount by using the promo code CANCRUSHERS. That's all one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You save 10%, and you'll get some sweet swag with it as well. We love our Collar and Elbow here on Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Here comes Al, and then I'll be back with Big Trouble Ben Bishop.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers, guys. I'm going to get right into this. You know how I'm excited to talk to the earthquake and pillar shakin' leader of the Meat Pop Express, 6'12", weighing in 15% of a metric ton, size 16 boot, Big Trouble Ben Bishop. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you? A great day.
It is a great rainy day here in Pennsylvania.
Now, I'm in Mid-Atlantic, too. I'm dealing with all this dreary weather, so I get it. We're going to push through. And my day just got better talking to you.
Right?
If you believe it or not.
You know, you always say the sun never sets on a cool guy, and I feel it already.
Damn right.
Right?
That's it. The sun never sets on a cool guy. That's the motto I live by, the motto that I always keep. And believe me, it is true.
So
we're in the shades right now.
I'm sure you are. You wear the shades all over your social media, and you got a fine face for that.
Which is too bad because I got these beautiful green eyes, and I don't really get to show them off as much because, like I said, the sun's always shining. My future's so bright, I got to keep the shades on.
You take them off in the matches. You take them off in the matches, and everybody can be overwhelmed by your beauty.
That's the green eyes, baby. They're something.
Yeah, they get all the women, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I have one woman. I have a wife, so I must.
Good boy. Caught you already. Good boy. So, we'll tease this. You were one of the big men coming to the Ballpark Brawl in Dubois, Pennsylvania on June 20th. We'll get to it, but have you ever been to Dubois, Pennsylvania?
Dubois. Well, first I thought it was Dubois, so I'll start with that. So Dubois. Dubois, Pennsylvania. No, I've never had the luxury of going to Dubois, Pennsylvania. I was in Ada, Pennsylvania this past Saturday. That's all I'm going to say about Ada, but I'm excited to go to Dubois and see what Dubois has to offer.
Dubois has a lot to offer. A lot to offer. Yes, right. Sir. Yeah. All right. Let's get into knowing more about Big Trouble Ben Bishop. Wrestling fan from way back, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been watching wrestling since I was 8. WCW fan. That's when I first started watching wrestling. I wasn't even into WWE when I was... Well, I was into it, but I discovered WCW first.
Wow.
So that was always my favorite to watch.
So, favorites, Sting, Kevin Nash.
Oh, Kevin Nash. No, number one, Kevin Nash. It always has been, always will be. That's the first... Honestly, when I turned on WCW when I was younger, he was the first guy I saw, and I was like, whoa, a big guy. I've always been big for my age, so obviously gravitated towards that guy. And, big, good-looking, obviously big, sexy. That was really the guy that made me interested in wrestling, just everything that he did. It's just his demeanor and how cool he was. And everything about him was really kind of, even, today, being a wrestler is what I like to base a lot of my character off of as well. And then other guy, I never really picked too many favorites. Nash is part above, and I've always just been a fan of it. And, I just kind of get into it, matches, segments, whatever it may be, the feuds. It's kind of just all encompassing. I like that all.
So, huge NWO fan then, right?
Oh, yeah, NWO over DX all day, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if that was to answer that question.
I'll ask the follow-up question that many don't like to, especially since you're in the business and I'm alongside the business. Did the NWO get too many people at one point?
Yeah, no, it did. Unfortunately, because of how cool they were, everybody wanted to be a part of it. I don't blame anybody. If I was asked to be in the NWO, I would say yes too. Nobody was cooler than the NWO in the late 90s. Nobody, nothing, absolutely nothing.
I agree. I would have lynched right on to any one of them, even if it was Vincent, Virgil, whatever you want to call them. Yes, I was there.
Any of them. I would have. Oh yeah, I would have done the black and white or the red and black, whatever. I don't care. I would have absolutely done it.
I was actually part of the Latino World Order. Martinez is the last name.
Oh, yeah?
So yeah, clearly, right?
Yeah.
One of the big questions I always like to know, because I'm nosy, who introduced you to wrestling? Because it's always like a mom or a sketchy grandfather.
Yeah, actually, my grandfather did. I was just, I lived with him for about a year when I was younger, and we're just flipping through channels, and he used to watch it with his mother growing up, and I come from a big Italian family, and my great-grandmother was a big fan of Bruno Sammartino, and, we were flipping through channels, and it was on, and I just kind of got hooked and told him to stop flipping through the channels, and I was watching it, and he was kind of like, whatever, if you like it, you like it. I just never stopped, and honestly, I didn't have a lot of friends that liked it growing up. All my friends weren't wrestling fans. I was kind of a loner when it came to that. I was the only one that really ever watched it. My dad would watch with me, but really, I was just kind of solo. I never really had anybody to talk about it with or, enjoy it with. So I just watched it on my own.
You have terrible friends. Terrible friends.
I know, right?
How do they not like wrestling? Come on.
I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it.
Now they're your friends, though. Now that you're in the business, they're all on board.
Now they're big fans. They're big fans of me, at least, as they should be.
Right. See? Yeah. You brought up your Italian family, so I have to ask this because once I hear somebody's Italian, my grandmother always made spaghetti and tuna fish. Have you ever had that?
No, it sounds so gross.
Really?
Was it good?
It's amazing. She puts the tuna fish in the sauce, and it's just
tuna fish.
Yeah, I'm
like canned tuna fish.
Yeah, she wasn't catching it that day. Come on now.
I mean, you can get a nice tuna steak or something. I don't know.
Right, not in the woods that we're in up here in Western Pennsylvania.
Not in Dubois, Pennsylvania.
Right.
No, I've never heard of that, honestly. But to each their own. I'm not going to judge. We usually stuck with the classics, and my grandmother would make homemade meatballs, and those were always amazing. My other grandmother would make lasagna, and that was her best dish. So we kept it pretty traditional. Didn't really go crazy with the spaghetti and tuna fish. But hey, I guess that's a Western Pennsylvania delicacy.
Well, you know what? I will make sure my wife makes it fresh on June 19th, and I'll bring some to the event. Just a little bit so you can try it. I'm telling you, everybody thinks, oh, my God, that sounds horrible. You don't taste it.
You know what, Mark? I like you. I'll try. I'll be honest with you. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
If I didn't like you, I'd tell you to your face that I'd give it a try and find the nearest trash receptacle and make sure that I make a donation.
If you don't eat it, Chad Miller will. So I don't have to worry about that. So growing up, big sports. You had the height and everything. You were a D1 basketball player for the University of Vermont. Talk about that a little bit because...
Yeah. I did your research. I played basketball my whole life, just being tall. I kind of got pigeonholed into it. And... I was pretty, naturally gifted at it, I guess. My dad was an athlete for, growing up. He played football, baseball, played rugby in college, but I never played football because I was always over the weight limit when I was a kid. And then I went to a prep school to play basketball, and the coach said, hey, we're giving you some money to come here in financial aid. You're not going to just go get stuck on the offensive line and hurt your knees. So I never played football. Basketball was my thing, and had a great time at Vermont, awesome school. I still follow the Catamounts. Team-wise, I had a great career. Personal wise, not as great as I would like to have. I had a lot of injuries. Just tearing ACL, meniscus. I had a torn retina, which kept me out for some time. I had a herniated disc, severely sprained ankles, all the good stuff. I've had it all, really. Now I'm wrestling. Couldn't you believe it?
Right.
It wasn't, personal-wise, it wasn't the best, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. We went to the tournament twice and played Syracuse, North Carolina, my freshman year, Syracuse, junior year, North Carolina, against some amazing teams. I still have amazing friendships with the guys that were on my team, and I'm really proud to be a UVM Catamount. So that's it. Like I said, wouldn't trade it for anything. Awesome experience.
Most memorable game, though, at Vermont. You have to have
most memorable game is definitely my junior year when we beat Stony Brook. In the America East Championship at Stony Brook. It was my birthday. It was my 22nd birthday. And that was just so, because it was at Stony Brook in front of their fans. And even though it's great to win in front of your own fans, it's even sweeter to win in front of a rival's fans.
Sure is.
We had a great time, and on the way back to Vermont, the game was early. It was 11 o'clock because that's the America East gets the 11 a.m. game on ESPN2 during championship week, so we get stuck into that slot. But it's great because it gives you time to get back to Vermont and have time to go out and party and enjoy it. We had a hell of a bus ride. We took the ferry. Everybody was partying on the ferry, and we had to get back into off of Long Island to Connecticut and took the bus back up to Vermont. And that was just a hell of a bus ride. So we had a lot of fun, and that'll always stick out as my favorite game.
Nice. All right, this is a wrestling podcast, though, Ben. Come on, we're not talking basketball the whole time.
No, I don't talk about it. I don't play it anymore. So it's out of my mind at this point.
All right. So let's talk about, because you have a great story how you actually got involved in wrestling. You legitimately weren't knocking doors down, were you?
No. So to really give you the kind of full scope of like what how I got into it. I mean, after basketball, I moved down to Maryland and I went to my master's at the University of Baltimore, and always wanted to be a wrestler, but I was like, I don't know how to get into this, and I didn't really give it much effort. I'm not going to lie and say I was trying to get into it. I really wasn't, and I just always a fan. And one day I played some Australian football to keep myself busy because I've always been an athlete, always wanted to do something and have a goal, to stay in shape. So I stopped playing Australian football after about 3 years-ish. And then one day I was just kind of sitting at home and I saw that there was I was actually listening to Busted Open Radio and Enzo was on. And Enzo was talking about that he was in the Baltimore area for an independent wrestling show. And I was just kind of like, you know what, why not? I'm not doing anything. It was a Friday night. I'll go, might as well. So I went and I just, kind of stood in the back, and whenever I go to a wrestling show, people just kind of stare at me and wonder, like, who's that guy? But, since Enzo was there, people thought I was Big Cass, and they were disappointed that it wasn't Big Cass. So they, just kind of watched the event, intermission, and, I was standing there, and Dwayne Deal comes up to me and, says, like, hey, man, are you a worker? I was like, I got a job. Yeah, I got a job. And he goes, no, man, are you a wrestler? I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, why not? So we just kind of get into talking, and then he goes, I got introduced to Jimmy, and I didn't know who Jimmy was. And he walks up to Ellsworth, and Ellsworth turns around, and I watched Ellsworth when he was on WWE, and immediately we just get to talking, and he takes my number down. He's like, no, but I want to get you into this. So, in a nutshell, a couple hours go by, I'm out, at the bar with them talking about it. And next day I'm training, helping set up the ring for the next show and training before the show. And the day after that, I'm doing like a full training session. And, then the rest is history. That was September 2019. So fast forward all the way to now. That's how I got started.
So some of your first matches have been, air quotes, COVID era wrestling, right?
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
So I had my debut after starting training in 2019, September. Trained probably 2, 3, 4 days a week to get prepared for it because I wanted to kind of expedite it because I'm not the youngest guy around. I wanted to get going. First match was February 2020, the end of February. And we had a great show here in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Beautiful Glen Burnie, Maryland. It was Dwayne Dill's actual retirement show. It was his last match. Him and Ellsworth were on top of the card, and we actually went semi-main, me and my tag partner versus independent wrestling, very well-known independent wrestling faction Blackout, Robbie Illuminati, and Ruckus for the tag belts. Me and my tag partner, Michael Zamato. It was a great show. 750 fans were there. I had about probably around like 100 people there for me, people wearing my merch, and, just a bunch of friends, family that came down from Rhode Island, New Jersey, a ton of people there. It was an amazing experience. It was awesome. we went over, had the tag belts, and I was just from there. I'm like, oh, this is great. Now we're going to take off. We're going to be running shows all the time. And then this happens. And the pandemic happened. So it was shitty timing. I was pissed. But, what I had to do was, I'd luckily and fortunately, Ellsworth saw something in me, and he's been wanting to work with me, and he's been getting me on shows, and I've been traveling with him. And fortunately, I've been able to go to places like Tennessee. I've been able to go to OVW in Kentucky, been able to go to Mississippi, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, a couple other places, West Virginia. So it's really been, I've been very fortunate to wrestle as much as I have being here in Maryland through this pandemic, which a lot of people, I'm talking to people that are here in Maryland, and they're just starting up again after not wrestling since last February.
Yeah.
So I've been able to definitely keep myself busy, not as busy as I wanted to. I definitely would have wanted to work more shows and not have to travel so much. But I get it; it's a grind, and I'm just trying to pay my dues right now by going on the road, doing those road trips, learning from guys. It's great to ride with a guy like Ellsworth because he was trained by Axel Rotten, and he has a wealth of knowledge. I think he's one of the really, I would say underrated minds in wrestling. I think a lot of people would say that. I see him around a lot of other vets, like guys that, you've talked to, Shane Douglas, Ricky Morton. They all respect him a lot. How Ellsworth knows the business. So it's been really invaluable to be able to be in a car with him and just him going over matches with me and explaining what works, what doesn't, why to do this, why to do that. Especially as a big guy, which takes a different type of psychology in wrestling. So it's been really, I can definitely say I'm fortunate and tried to make, a good thing out of a pile of shit. So.
Right. Couple things out of that. One, we helped Gilbert actually promote that retirement show. He was on the show about a week prior, announcing that it was going to be his last match. That's neither here nor there because he's since returned to do a couple oddball things. But
oh yeah, he does it. Yeah, he does. No matches, but he'll make his appearances and do his signings and all that. So Gilbert's such a great guy.
He is.
Really, really awesome guy. And like I said, I wouldn't have done this if he didn't approach me at that show. So I owe a lot to him. And he had a rough go of it over the last few months. Fortunately, he had a heart attack. But he's recovering. He's doing better. He's always in a good mood. Always very genuinely happy to see you. I always wish him the best. Yeah,
we do some stuff with MCW down there as well.
Okay, yeah.
And Gilbert's right down the road. He's like, hey, when you guys come down, before the show, come to my house. We'll have some burgers and beers and then head over to the show together. I'm like, all right. And then all of a sudden, quarantine hits. So we didn't get to take him up on that yet, but we will.
Well, believe me, he's not bullshitting. Yeah,
no, I know.
Absolutely. But he's not. Yeah, that's not just an empty promise. He'd love to have you. He's great. He really is.
We then ran into him down at WrestleCade, and he remembers us. He's like, hey, you guys, why didn't you come? Or COVID, Gilbert. Yeah. So, you said you won the tag team championships. Were you managed that night also by Lars as well?
Lars, yes, I was. Yeah. Me and Michael Tomato and our manager of the Stars, Lars Madison.
Yeah.
He's really gotten to me where I am now. Not many people. People always ask me where is he. I always say it right. People don't really see him, but he has a mind for the business. He has an eye for the business. He knows talent. He's brought me and Michael to new heights. Now, to be completely honest, I'm probably the one, really bringing it to new heights, literally and figuratively. But that's neither here nor there. But I think I'm the prize of Lars's eye now, not as much Michael's, but we won't tell him that. But Lars is probably in the top 5 greatest managers of all time in independent wrestling. I'll say that. I know he's unbelievable, and luckily I have Lars by my side.
Lars is seen less than John Cena, I think.
Yeah, no, but that's the beauty of Lars is because he lets the wrestlers get the spotlight. He doesn't need the spotlight. Lars he's there, but he's not there. He only he only pops up when he's needed, and that's the making of a good manager.
Right.
He's not going to outshine his guys.
You talked about doing work kind of all over. There's a couple I want to touch on. You worked in Jerry Lawler's promotion a little bit, right?
Yeah, USA Championship Wrestling for Burt Prentice, long-time independent wrestling promoter.
How was that? Was Jerry around? Did you get to bend his ear?
I got to meet Jerry. Unfortunately, I didn't get to have a long conversation with him. It's really not a gimmick. He is a king down there. It's people don't realize it. He is Memphis wrestling, and it is royalty. He's royalty. It's a different crowd down there, but they're great. I always say one of my favorite places to work is in Tennessee. The crowd is just into it. You know, they cheer the face, they boo the heels, they just love like just the characters and just everything about just like the pure like professional wrestling. They eat it up. They eat it up. They're not markish. They're not smart marks. They're not, trying to think that they know too much. They're not about that. They just love wrestling. They love the product. They enjoy it for what it is. Any chance I get to go down there, I try to get down there. No, it is a long car ride, about 10 hours to Nashville. You can add on another 3 to 4 to get around the Memphis territory, but it has been probably it is the number one place I've worked over the past year down in Tennessee. So it is a really awesome place. I tell a lot of guys from around here, if you get the chance, definitely go down to Tennessee. Different crowds and just such an awesome atmosphere.
There is still what they call white heat down in Tennessee. Have you experienced it yet?
What? Can you elaborate on that?
White heat is where they legit want to kill the heel. Like, it's not, this complete silence of the crowd, and you don't know if they're going to come running after you and stab you or what.
Luckily, since I've been down there, I've always been for the most part, in most of the promotions I've worked down there, I've been a face. So I've had that. But no, you're right. I've been sitting there. I've been at the merch table sometimes watching the show, and I hear the people in the crowd. They do not like the heels, but that's what you want. The heels do a good job, and they learn how to work down there. That's really what I like. The guys know how to work, and they listen to the crowd and understand what's going to get the crowd going. Because pro wrestling can be very simple. Sure, it really can be, and they really know how to elicit a response in Tennessee from those people.
You visited another genius in professional wrestling. He also trains dolphins. You were at OVW with Al Snow.
He trains dolphins? You
didn't know that?
No.
Yes.
That just makes me more interesting of a person. Yeah, no, fortunately I got to the way I got connected with Chad Miller was through my good buddy Mike Mara, who played basketball at the University of Louisville, and he was on the national championship team, which they won the national championship. I'm not doing the whole, they got to take it away. They won the national championship. Whatever happened, but on the court, they won the title.
Right.
So he was on that team, and unfortunately, he also had some injuries in college that kind of hindered him a little bit. But, he saw that I was wrestling, and he's like, hey, I know this guy, Chad Miller, is involved with OVW, and he wanted information. So, we shared information, and I went back and forth. A few months went by, obviously, with the quarantine and COVID and all that type of stuff. Things slowed down, but we just kept in touch. And in September, I was able to go down. And it was really, amazing experience. I was there at the building early, and Al was there. I got to just talk to Al for a few hours, and just what a absolute book of knowledge Al is. And obviously one of the greatest trainers, in the world of professional wrestling. That was a awesome, again, another invaluable experience. Get to talk to him. And it's just cool to be in the building, the building that, had so many, stars come through, Cena's and the Lesnar's, the Ortons, the Batistas, and Shelton Benjamin, the list goes on. It was really just like a surreal experience, kind of like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually here, right? You know, I just remember always hearing about the aura of OVW, and it was really, really cool thing to do, especially within my first year of working. And I really appreciate Chad for hooking me up with that. I really appreciate Al taking the time to talk to me, you know, give me some advice and all that. So it was really cool.
It was all Al. Do not give any praise to Chad Miller. Stop it.
Okay, so that's the last time I'll give Chad any praise.
Thank you. So this is where I kind of like do a comparison, because we learned about your trainers and everything. We mentioned everybody's name already who I'm going to compare you against, and you're going to say, yeah, Mark, that's that easy. But I think you're the Kevin Nash. I think you're the Big Cass. But I throw another one in because there's times your eyes just kind of twist, and I think that's your Psycho Sid moment. So that's who I think you are all in one. Am I right?
I'll take Psycho Sid. Yeah, and that's one I always forget, you know, that I talk about. And I have watched a lot of Sid matches, and just an absolute monster. And you know, his facials, he had some of the best facials for a big guy, and just, you know, getting himself over by just making faces and not able to do anything else. You know, the crowd was afraid of him or they loved him, and I'll take that comparison all day.
Yeah,
Kevin Nash, Sid Vicious, or Psycho, whatever iteration of Sid you want.
Right.
When I was watching WCW, it was Sid Vicious to me. Big Cass, I got a lot too. So I get a lot of Big Cass, since he's the most modern day big guy. Another guy that, you know, I was very, Enzo would always talk about his story. That was one of the reasons he was on Busted Open that day back in 2019 when Cass was going through some stuff. And, you know, I couldn't be happier that I was able to meet Enzo, and I told him that, and he was a little touched by it. And, you know, I think, I'm really happy that Big Cass is back, you know, working. He looks great.
He looks amazing.
And I really hope that he can just, you know, stay on the right track and, you know, continue to get work. And, you know, I know he's not Impact now, and he's actually going down to USA Championship Wrestling next week to wrestle Jerry Lawler. So that should be pretty cool. Unfortunately, I was going to try to go, but I can't make it, unfortunately. But that'll be awesome, and that'll definitely draw a crowd. And it shows that, you know, the big men in professional wrestling, the aura around big men isn't dead yet. You know, it's still there's still a spot for us. So I like to see that.
Yeah, Big Men Wrestling. If you listen to the podcast, you know that we're huge Big Men Wrestling. The English Professor loves Big John Studd, Andre the Giant. You know, give me some Wardlow because he's our local boy up here taking on.
Oh, okay, he's from up there. Okay, I didn't know that. Very cool.
Yeah, big time Bill Collier that you're seeing on AEW Dark right now. Yeah, those are our guys. Those are our guys that, you know, two hosses going at it. We could watch over and over. So you're going to fit the bill up here. We are big boy wrestling up here.
I love it, and like it is like I said it before. It can be simple, and you know, people just they love two guys just beating the absolute shit out of each other. And you know, like I'm sure we'll get into it, you know, talking about it soon. But me and Wrecking Ball, you know, me and Wrecking Ball and Krisky, a guy from Connecticut. We just had a few matches last week, a couple weeks ago, against each other, and that's all we did. We just told each other, let's just beat each other up in a safe way, but let's beat the shit out of each other and just get people going. They love to see it. They really do.
They do, and that's actually my next note was to talk about Wrecking Ball, Legursky, that you guys have traveled everywhere, just in anything matches, just beating the shit out of each other, and they're available on YouTube. You can see stuff on YouTube. If you guys don't know, and I'm going to take a minute here, if you don't know who Big Trouble Ben Bishop is, you know, you guys have some time before you get to meet him in Dubois on June 19th. Look up his matches, and if you can find anything with Wrecking Ball Legursky, you won't be disappointed, guys. They're on YouTube.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And there's been two currently, and there's going to be more. But we worked at Global Syndicate Wrestling, GSW, and also Invictus Pro Wrestling. Wrecking Ball, the guy from Connecticut, he's trained by Bully Ray Dudley at Team 3D Academy up there. What a worker, what an athlete for his size, 370 pounds, about 6'3", just can really move, very agile. I compare him to like a Bam Bam Bigelow.
Vader.
Like a Vader. Yep, Vader. Yep, two guys. Bam Bam's his favorite wrestler. So I was actually, before our matches, I was watching the Kevin Nash versus Bam Bam matches. And, you know, he's just I love working against him. I know I'm gonna hurt. I know it's not gonna feel great, but we love. I love working with him because the crowd loves it, and we get a reaction, and we just like we said before the match, let's just don't hold anything back. Just beat the shit out of me. Just go ahead, and we'll be able to ice up after, and you know, for 10 to 15 minutes, just lay it all out there. And we did. And we had some fun. And those matches will be available very soon in full context. The whole show, the Invictus show, will be out. And GSW High Voltage will, that's their YouTube show, which should be made available very soon. But, yeah, if you like big boy wrestling, definitely check out me versus Wrecking Ball Ligursky.
So we talked about, you know, pandemic era wrestling and you being from Maryland right now. What's your home territory then, if we can call that?
Yeah. So right now I'm almost like a nomad. I mean, I've been all over this fucking place, man. I've been in Maryland. We have the strictest commission in the country, and everyone knows it. And they just won't let us run shows. They compare us, you know, to boxing and MMA, and so they say that, you know, we got to have day of COVID tests. The thing is, Ring of Honor's here. Ring of Honor, fortunately, has Sinclair Broadcasting that backs them and gives them a lot of money. And they're allowed to run shows without people there. And the Sinclair Broadcasting Company, they can get some content. But the commission makes them take day of COVID tests, and the commission makes you take their day of COVID test. So you can't just go get a free COVID test through insurance, and each COVID test the commission wants you to take is over $100. So you're not going to get every indie guy to take that every single time there's a show. But Ring of Honor can do that. And, you know, that's great. Nothing against them. Unfortunately, you know, local indie promotions can't do that. So we just haven't been able to run shows. We're going to have an update June 1st. Hopefully, we get the good go-ahead for July to be able to start promoting and running shows. We're looking at James Ellsworth runs the promotion here, the Adrenaline Championship Wrestling, and he's looking probably for an August date to start having shows again. So we're really, you know, we're itching for it. It'd be nice to only have to travel, you know, less than an hour to get to a show, but you know, it is what it is. And until then, I'll be traveling to Jersey and Dubois, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, and Tennessee, and Kentucky, and whoever else will have me. You know, I'll really go. I'll go anywhere within reason. So I'm not afraid to travel, but it's going to be nice to have some local shows.
Right. When all those pop back up, you know, you got my number now. Shoot me a text. We'll promote the hell out of them. Maybe even in August then. That would be awesome. We got some peeps in Maryland that we know that we could come and crash this party.
Please. I'm telling you, we have a lot of fun at our shows. We got a great crowd here. And yeah, Ellsworth, he really books a good show. You know, good amount of names, good amount of local talent, brings in a lot of good people, and yeah, it's going to be good. We're itching for it, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen soon.
So
you might see, if you come to the right one, you might see me versus Beastman, another guy.
Oh, I love Beastman. Yes.
Yeah.
I love Beastman.
ACW, and believe me, within the next year, I'm sure we're going to be building towards a big program, me versus Beastman. So that's another one to look forward to.
So before we get into kind of one of my favorite segments that is completely off kilter on the show, because that's just the train wreck of the show that we always have, you have gotten some knowledge from two of my all-time favorite wrestlers, one being the franchise Shane Douglas that I saw in one of his very first matches in Indiana, Pennsylvania. Him and Cactus Jack Manson were on the card. It was Dominic DeNucci's card
back in the day. I was about 5, and I have a picture of me and Shane Douglas. And I showed him recently. He's like, God, you're a nerd. I'm like, thanks, Shane. But he's a great guy. So
he is one of the nicest guys that I've met currently in professional wrestling. And granted, I've only been around it for a little less than 2 years now. But Shane is just always someone that you can go up to and talk to. He's about anything. He doesn't have to be wrestling. He'll just talk to whoever. He's a guy in the locker room who's just I can call it like a warming presence, for lack of a better term. And just someone who's been around forever, and just he's been in the ring with the best, and he is. I think he is at his peak. I think Shane was one of the best in the world. So it really, really enjoyed getting to know Shane. Been on a few shows with him and just talking to him. Like I said, just one of the real good guys in professional wrestling.
And another one was a current Can Crusher alum, one half of the Rock and Roll Express. You got to sit down with Ricky Morton as well.
Yep, Ricky, and everything I just said about Shane, you can really just copy and paste for Ricky Morton. Another, just one of the good guys. I know he's always been a baby face, and that's not a gimmick as well.
No, it's not.
Ricky still has the best hair in wrestling. And I as a hair guy, I feel comfortable saying that. I don't understand how he's been able to keep that, absolute amazing mane of hair over all these years. So all power to him. But yeah, I was sitting in the locker room actually in Tennessee watching Ricky talk about a match. I haven't been able to work with Ricky in the ring, unfortunately. But I have watched Ricky call matches and just go over like psychology of matches, and it really is just kind of everybody like watching someone like around a campfire. Everyone's kind of staring, looking at him, just like watching, just trying to take in as much knowledge as possible. Because who has more knowledge than like a Ricky Morton? His accolades speak for itself, and the people he's wrestled, who he's been around by, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. So, it's been great to be able to travel these places and be in locker rooms with guys like Shane and Ricky, because the in-ring training is one thing, training in the ring, and that's important, and obviously keeping yourself in shape and having the cardio to go in the ring. That's important, but at the end of the day, a lot of it is mental, and you got to learn the psychology from veterans like a Ricky and a Shane and a Gilbert and a guy like Ellsworth, and because they see things differently, and moves, anybody can do moves. And it's really what it comes down to is the psychology and the selling and the story you're trying to tell in the ring.
Did Ricky tell you or show you how to do the Canadian Destroyer at his age? Could we ever see Big Trouble pull that off?
I'm going to be completely honest, Mark. You're probably never going to see me do a Canadian Destroyer.
Damn it!
I don't need to do it. I don't need to do a Canadian Destroyer. I'll let the little guys do the Canadian Destroyers. They can have that move.
All right.
As long as little guys stop doing choke slams, I don't want to see that anymore.
Touche.
If you're under 6'3", don't do a choke slam. As I want to say to everybody, don't do it.
Don't do it.
And I won't do a Canadian Destroyer.
Well, I was really hoping you could pull one off at Dubois and just shock the world. But all right, we'll hold you to that. Let's nerd out a little bit and get to know more of you outside of wrestling. What are some of your nerd things? I know you put a lot of time into wrestling right now. You're at the gym, you're doing this, you're doing that. Off time, are you a video game buff, music, reality shows?
I'm a big, nerd wise. I mean, I'm into all the Marvel movies. I'm a big kid at heart. I play video games, and I wouldn't call myself. I thought I was really into video games until now. I heard there's this big subculture of people getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions to play video games, and I'm not at that level. But I've always been a big fan of just like pop culture. I tell everyone, if you ever need somebody on your trivia team, I'm pretty much the go-to. A lot of useless trivia. Marvel and DC, all the Batman movies. I'm always the first in line to go to any Star Wars or Avengers or Mortal Kombat just came out. I'm a big fan of kaiju movies as well. Godzilla, Kong, all those type of movies. Anything along those lines. I've always been a huge nerd for.
When you retire from everything, and we're not pushing you, but when you retire from everything and your wife is pushing you around in a what the hell do you call them? A wheelchair because all of your injuries or anything, where do you want to retire to? Bali, California, like where's your destination?
One of my favorite places, and the people laugh at it, but one of my favorite places that I would love to retire to. I think I got two options. I would either want to move up north to Vermont and live in a cabin away from everybody, but just have all the all the necessities, right in the Green Mountains. Or probably my number one would be the Siesta Key, Florida. One of my favorite places on earth. You know why? It's because it's Florida, and you got the nice weather, and you got the beautiful beaches. Siesta Key Beach, one of the best beaches in the country, always rated in the top 5. Cheap plug. But also because everyone down there is from the Northeast, and they're all Northeasterners.
Yep.
So you go down there, and it's just like, hey, it's just like being in the Northeast, but you're in Florida, and you got the nice weather. It's the best of both worlds.
Right.
You're not with the quote unquote people like, oh, the Florida man, and all that type of stuff. You're not with them in Siesta Key in Sarasota. I would say that would be just living on the beach there. That would probably my number one. It's just sitting in my wheelchair thinking about all the dumb shit I did over my life and voluntarily falling down too many times. But just if I'm staring at the ocean, it's all worth it.
With the Corona, right?
With a land shark.
Okay, that's even better. All right, good. I'm a land shark guy too.
Yeah, I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan too. So land shark. Whenever you're outside near a beach, nothing tastes better than a land shark.
What is your guilty pleasure? You have a great physique. Can you walk past a bagel shop or cupcakes or anything like that?
I have a tough time doing that. I do have a little bit of a sweet tooth. Just had a cheesecake last night. Cheesecake actually one of my favorite places. So always, I got to go with one of those cheesecakes. It is hard, believe me. It's very difficult to turn down a lot of that stuff. I would say, guilty pleasures, anything that has to do with like cheesecakes, chocolate cakes. That's why I try to stay away from. If I go to like somebody's house for a barbecue or there's a ton of food there, I'd always kind of just gravitate towards the fucking all the food, and I eat too much and I feel like shit. And I gotta really watch myself because I'm definitely not the guy who grew up skinny and has a tough time gaining weight. I can gain bad weight real quick. So I really have to watch what I eat, and it's a bummer sometimes, but it's always worth it. It's definitely worth it to stay in somewhat good shape.
Again, it goes back to the psychology, though, that that if you eat a cheesecake today, you're screwed for the next 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yep. You gotta just think about it. Is it worth the 5 to 10 minutes of pleasure?
Right.
You can find other ways to pleasure yourself, right, Mark?
Right. I don't know what you're talking about, but right. Final stupid question. Where's the best slice of pizza that you've ever had?
Oh, God, that's tough. Oh, man, that's the hardest question I've ever had. Best slice of pizza. Everyone's going to hate me. Burlington, Vermont, Mr. Mike's. Their barbecue chicken and buffalo chicken pizza, there was nothing better. It was the best late night food I've ever had. So if you ever find yourself on Church Street in Burlington, Vermont, Mr. Mike's, I hope it's still there. People probably from Rhode Island are going to disown me for that because Caserta's is really big in Rhode Island. I like Caserta's, not my favorite. But, yeah, Mr. Mike's, Burlington, Vermont, right off of Church Street, the best buffalo chicken, barbecue chicken pizza you could ever have.
I never thought I'd get a plug for someplace in Burlington, Vermont, but apparently...
Yeah, no, And I'm not the, I'm not like Portnoy or guys like that who are just, I'm just like, I just gotta have the cheese pizza. My favorite type of pizza is the barbecue chicken pizza. So, I'll go for that over any just slice of cheese any day. And if you want that, I probably couldn't tell you what my favorite just slice of cheese pizza would be.
They're all the same, aren't they?
To me, they are. I mean, I don't know. It's I mean, you can have a bad one.
You can.
Honestly, at the end of the day, they really are kind of all the same.
Yeah.
I can't really tell the real, like, very good ones from, like, the subpar average ones.
All right. Back to wrestling. How much wrestling today do you watch? And, Kevin Nash is out. He's not doing as much, and so is Sid. Big Cass is back. But who are you pulling from today if you're watching anybody, doing, like, your tape studies?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So there's a few guys that I really like to watch nowadays when it comes to big guys. Lance Archer being one of them.
Nice.
He's really well traveled, and he has a really interesting story as well. Being cast out of WWE, making a name for himself in Japan, and then coming back and being a main eventer in AEW. Love watching his stuff. Karrion Kross, another one. Not super tall, 6'3", 6'4", big guy, works in a very, I don't want to say methodical, but more of a, they're similar like a Randy Orton. They kind of work in that way. We're letting everything register and everything looks real and crisp and good. I like watching Kross. Walter's another one I like to watch. I think he's one of the most underrated big men in the world. I think he's one of the best workers in the world right now.
I agree.
Every match he has is always like, it blows people away in what he does. And, he's gotten a chop over, and I never thought that'd be able to happen in 2021. And also, those are the three guys I really like to hone in on and watch. I try to watch as much of their stuff, modern day wrestling, most of that stuff as possible. I'm happy that Big Cass is back, so I definitely, would watch more Big Cass, or W. Morrissey as he goes by now in Impact. And then another guy I really like, he's not a big guy, but just promo ability and natural charisma. He's a Maryland guy, is formerly Eli Drake, now LA Knight. He cracks me up, and I think he has the best natural charisma in wrestling currently. MJF's up there as well, but I think LA Knight takes the cake on that one.
Do you like the name LA Knight? Because we don't.
I like Drake. I think Eli Drake better.
Yeah.
I do. But it still has the 3 syllables. So we can do his little gimmick thing. So it still works for him.
Do you watch wrestling ever for entertainment anymore, or are you just critiquing every match because you have to now?
I try to watch it for entertainment purposes. I do find myself critiquing things, and I sit back and I'm like, what am I critiquing? Who the hell do I think I am critiquing this shit? But you see things differently now as a wrestler. When you're watching, you just kind of, you just see like, what was that place there? What was that? What was the point of this? You kind of just gotta. Sometimes I gotta remind myself that just be a fan and just enjoy it, and just enjoy the match. And I think what AEW is doing is great alternative to WWE. I try to watch as much as possible. Luckily, we're in the DVR era, so I don't have to. I can skip through the commercials or maybe certain things I don't want to watch.
Yep.
I think right now we're in a time in wrestling where there's so much, and you can pick from so much, and depending on what you like, if you like the more sports entertainment aspect, you have WWE. If you kind of like, the more indie type stuff, and mixed with sports entertainment, you got AEW. If you kind of like the strong style, you got the Ring of Honor or the New Japan. And there's so much, and now a lot of indie companies are on YouTube and you can watch, like the GCWs of the world, and a lot of other good indie companies like Warrior Wrestling and FSW out in Vegas. There's a ton of stuff that any wrestling fan can watch. You can find what you like. And believe me, I listen to wrestling podcasts. My favorite wrestling podcast is Jim Cornette's podcast. and for pure entertainment purposes. He is one of the greatest minds in wrestling, and he has his opinions, and if you agree with them or if you don't agree with them, that's your own prerogative. But I try to watch as much as possible. I try to remind myself, hey, remember, just be a fan. You were a fan first, and that's what you'll always be. And if you're not a fan of it, then what's the point of doing it? Because it's a waste of time at that point.
I agree. I completely agree. Jim is a genius. Sometimes I wish that he would turn AEW off because he could talk about something else. But then there's times you're like, oh, I see what Jim's talking about. I 100% agree.
I think he wants to, but that's bringing in the money for him. So
right.
That's what people want to hear. They want to hear him, just be the bitter old man that yells at the cloud. And he does it better than anyone.
He does. A few more questions, but I want to talk about you doing some work with Barstool Sports. You said you were on the show. That's where you met Enzo. How did this all come about, and how can you direct me to get there?
So basically what happened was Brandon Walker of Barstool Sports was brought in there to become the gambling guy, college football guy. But in actuality, Brandon's real first passion before all that was wrestling, professional wrestling. He's from Mississippi, and so he grew up in the Memphis territory and went to all those type of shows when they were, making their shots around that area in Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee. He just put on Twitter one day that he was on the radio, and he said, if I wasn't doing this, my dream would be a wrestling manager. He always wanted to be a manager. He's Bobby Heenan's his favorite of all time. For good reason, the greatest manager of all time. Next to Lars Madison.
Right.
And yeah, of course, you got to put Lars up there. So I just basically tweeted at him and just said, "You manage me." And he just sent a gift back that said, "Go on." And so I was like, all right, well, I sent him all this stuff, gave him the whole shtick, 6'12", all that good stuff. And, he said, all right, why not? Messaging with him, and we tried to figure some stuff out. And, next thing you know, I'm going up to the office, and it was a pretty cool experience. I've always been a Barstool fan, being from the Northeast. So I knew Barstool were like kind of coming up, not to try to sound like a hipster, but
here we go.
I knew him first. But no, always knew who they were, and always knew how Dave Portnoy was, and followed them a lot in college. And when they started blowing up in 2015, really started becoming a big stoolie. It was cool to go in the office and be on the radio and meet Big Cat, meet PFT, and the rest of the crew there, and everybody's just amazing people, really cool people there. Everyone always asks, like, oh, how was this person like? How was this person? And I was like, I can't lie. Every single person was welcoming and nice. Like, there wasn't one, big time guy or anything. I even met Portnoy.
Wow.
It was just the funniest story with that. Like, when we met, he actually, I was talking to Rome, one of the personalities there, and Portnoy comes over and started talking to him about something about Philadelphia. And I was like, well, I guess this is my chance. So I stood up, and me being the size that I am, Portnoy just looked me up and down. Like, who the hell are you? I had no idea. So I just introduced myself. I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm Ben. I'm actually the wrestler that Brandon Walker is managing. And he just looks at me and he laughs. He's like, honestly, man, nice to meet you. I had no idea any of that was happening. So he's like, but really nice to meet you, I guess. And PFT was sitting there and just started laughing. He's like, well, what an introduction that was. Like, yeah, well, I don't know how else to describe. He had no clue who I was. I was just standing there, and he's like, who the hell is this Sasquatch standing in front of me? So I could just tell. I was like, I guess that's the only way I can say it. That was an interesting, my first time meeting Dave Portnoy. Brandon's been great. I've been able to go up to, he's a real busy guy, so we haven't been able to do as much as we would like. But he came to a show recently in New Jersey for Invictus Pro Wrestling. Got a ton of eyeballs on Invictus. 111,000 views and counting on the finish of our match, me and Wrecking Ball, which I won clean, fair and square. Clean as can be in the middle of the ring. Hitting the double beat spine buster move no one's ever kicked out of and still hasn't kicked out of. to this day. People just loved it, and Brandon really wants to be a manager, so I started the podcast. I have a ton of people on, and we're definitely going to start doing a lot more this summer because when things are now just opening up a little bit more, and I'm going to go down to OVW in the beginning of June, and hopefully more after that. And then to your next question about you getting involved with them, yeah, I'll do my best, Mark.
I know you will.
Absolute best.
I know you're a cool guy.
I will. Any podcast I'm ever on, I always give them shout outs. I try to push. I want everyone to succeed in what they love doing because that's what I'm trying to do. And I always think everyone needs to scratch that creative itch, and you need to do something that can, that's not just your regular job or regular work. You got to do something that scratches that itch. And I support anybody that does that type of stuff because it's extremely important. And that's what I was missing before I got into wrestling. I needed something else. Everything was just very mundane, and you just think like, what else can I do? I just needed something, and wrestling has been that thing. So
the podcast has been that thing. I'm a garbage man by trade, with a communications and marketing degree.
Jobs in the world. One of the most important jobs in the world.
I needed something, and this is my outlet. And my wife loves me for spending trillions and trillions of dollars every year until Collar and Elbow came around. So, yeah. So you're a busy guy. You said that you are going to OVW at the beginning of June. You will be in Dubois on the 19th of June. And then the following weekend, you are back in Invictus, which we are in the talks of coming out to that show. That's a spoiler as of right now, because I'm doing some work as well with Vicious Vicky.
Great.
Mimi. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who else?
Notorious Mimi as well.
Oh, Mimi. Okay. Yep. Both great girls. And I think they're very talented. They're mainstays in the New Jersey area. So that's awesome. You should sponsor the match.
Well, that's what's in the talks. So exactly.
All right, good.
You see,
our match, not Vicky's match. Do our match.
Oh.
Our match will be announced soon. I can't say it yet.
Not yet. I know. Just like we can't announce as of podcast recording who you're going to take on the 19th, but I can speculate that there's 3 other huge men that are going to be there. You could be going against Cash Flow. You could be going against Crimson. You could be going against Jax Dane. All of them could end up with the size 16 boot in the face, correct?
They sure can. Believe me, I can get this boot way up there. The leg can go real high. And they can all get kicked in the face. Everybody can get kicked in the face. It's all about boots to faces, Mark. That's what I'm about. Boots to faces, a size 16 boot, cordially inviting someone to the big boot party. I'm all about it. Very inclusive. It's an inclusive guest list.
Well, I love you, but I don't want to be part of that guest list.
You sure, Mark?
I'm positive. I'm bringing you spaghetti and tuna fish. Why would I want to get the big boot?
Joy, I can't wait.
I bet. You're going to try it. It's going to be on air, by the way. 2 final questions are always my favorite questions. Number 1 is a 2-parter. Best advice that you were given backstage from somebody, and then the best advice that you have to a child that says, "Hey, big trouble, I want to get into wrestling." So take that as you may.
So the best advice I've heard is basically never say yeah, but. So whenever anyone's telling you anything, if they're trying to critique a match or they're trying to explain something to you or something you might have done wrong, never say yeah, but. Because basically you're just telling them that you know more than that person. It doesn't matter whatever veteran says to you, whoever it may be. If it's a guy who's a 20-year indie vet who's never left the state of Maryland, or it's, a guy like an Al Snow or a Shane Douglas or a Ricky Morton, never say yeah, but, because very immediately people are going to think like, okay, you're just, trying to be a big shot and you think you know everything. I take every advice I get and listen, and the other thing I've heard from people is you don't have to take every single piece of advice. You know, you got to pick and choose. And, you know, some things might work better for you that someone might not think works for you, but you're just like, you know, I feel comfortable doing something. But you take the advice, and you appreciate the advice, and you respect the advice, especially from a lot of these vets. And if I had to tell a kid that wanted to start in wrestling, just listen and shut up is really the best thing I can tell them. There's so much to learn in wrestling. And when you think you know everything, you probably don't know shit. Because there's, you know, it just keeps evolving, and you gotta learn. There's so many little things that, you know, you're watching matches, and I'm at the point, you know, I'll watch my matches back just from last year, and I'll watch my more current matches, and I'll say like, wow, you know, I can see where, you know, last year I wasn't getting it. Now I'm starting to get it a little more, and believe me, I still have a lot to get. I'm not close to getting it all. I don't think anybody's ever really at that point besides a handful of people currently working in wrestling right now. You know, but I'm seeing, you know, I can see the progress. So, and that's because, you know, I just listen, and I come from an athletic background, and I know how to, you know, I'm coachable, and I can listen, I can talk to, I'm comfortable hearing constructive criticism and what I did wrong and what I need to work on. And that's all fine with me. So that's what mostly telling anything I would tell any kids that want to get into wrestling is just be coachable, because that's really the most important thing you can be in wrestling.
Yeah, being coachable is the best thing across any sports.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. And that's one thing that, you know, Chad told me when I talked to him after the first time I went to OVW, and, you know, he said, Al took a liking to you because you're coachable and you're listening, and so that's just something that's not hard to do. You know, you don't need to spend hours in the gym to be coachable. You know, you just sit there and you listen, and you try to improve on what you did, because, you know, if you have an ego in wrestling, you got to have it. Yeah, well, backtrack. You got to have a little bit of an ego. You got to be a mark for yourself. Because if you're not a mark for yourself, no one will be a mark for you. But you got to check your ego at the door and make sure that, you know, you pick and choose your times, and you have to have a little bit of an ego. And, you know, when you're learning from somebody as established as like, you know, as an Al Snow, Ricky, Shane, Ellsworth, Dwayne Gill, when you're learning from them, that's not the time to have an ego. It's time to shut up and listen.
I actually lied to you, Ben. I actually have 2 more questions now. I don't know how to count. We weren't taught math in Ridgeway. I'll just tell you that.
I believe it.
Right? Especially on the 3rd or 4th time of doing the intro, which is edited, so you don't know that. Your dream match, and here it is. Who, where, and what stipulation? And it can be anybody ever in wrestling. I think I know the answer to the who. Yeah.
Anybody ever in wrestling. Ever. Oh, man. So, like, anytime.
Yep.
Like somebody at their prime, like it wouldn't be like them walking around now.
No, it would not be walking around now.
All right. I mean, I would have to say that's tough. Probably ever in wrestling, just because, and I wouldn't have said this before I became a wrestler, because I was never a fan of this guy until I became a wrestler and then realized how good he is. I would probably say Bret Hart.
Oh, wow.
With number 1. Yeah. Number 1 would be Bret Hart. Because, you know, I watched back some of the matches of him working with big guys, and he made big guys look like $1 million. I'll be honest with you. Just him selling and everything he could do. I would say Bret Hart would definitely be number 1 on that list. And a few other guys that I would have loved to work with through the years, you know, would have been maybe like a Shawn Michaels too, of course. Current guys, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, I think too, are 2 guys that would be amazing to work with. Yeah, and where it would be? I mean, where else would you want to go besides like a Madison Square Garden?
Right.
You know, I mean, the stadiums are amazing all in itself, but Madison Square Garden is like, you know, that's just kind of the place everybody wants to be. And I'll give the generic answer. It is the Mecca. So, you know, that would be the number 1 place. I would love to wrestle Bret Hart in Madison Square Garden in 1995.
And first of all, you blew my mind with Bret Hart. I really thought you were going to have a big man match with Kevin Nash. So I really did.
Yeah, I just think I think that would be a spectacle. I just think we're too similar. I don't know if it would. I don't know. If it would
Undertaker against Undertaker. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. So, I think, Bret, and I mentioned it because it is true. Watching Bret growing up, and watching back some of his matches, because he was a little bit before my time, when he was at his prime. I never really liked watching Bret Hart matches, but now watching him back, I'm say he really was like amazing to watch in the ring. Just everything he could do, how smooth and crisp it was. And as a wrestler, you really have a more of a respect for Bret Hart these days than I did before before I became a wrestler.
And final
same thing with Randy Orton's like that too. Same type of deal. I just always thought, I was like, it's a little too methodical, it's a little too this. But now watching him with different eyes, I'm like, wow, he is unbelievable.
Oh, Randy's amazing. I've always been a Randy fan, just because the psychology that he has in and out of the ring, even as a youngster in Evolution and everything, Randy's always had it, but it's in his blood.
Yeah, sure is.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is the Chad Miller question of every podcast when he sends me somebody to talk to. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I see. That's a good question. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Hopefully not in that wheelchair. I believe in 5 years, and this is when you kind of have a little bit of an ego. I think in 5 years, my goal is to be on TV in some way, shape, or form. On major TV, and that's definitely where I believe I see myself, and I believe in myself for now. And that's the goal I'm going to want to hit, and we'll see if it happens. But that is my 5-year plan. My 5-year goal in wrestling is to make it to that level, signed by a major promotion, and make a little bit of a career out of it.
And support from the family, the wife, and everything is all 100%, right?
Oh yeah, everyone supports it, so they're all in on it, and willing to help. But at the same time, you hear all these stories about people who they have to give up a lot to be in wrestling, and I do give up a ton, and I go on the road on weekends and long hours in the car, and might not be able to go hang out with friends all the time. But at the same time, it is important to make time for, the people that support you. So if that means, hey, I can't go to a certain booking because I have a wedding I have to go to support friends that support me, that's important to me. And that'll always be important to me. So I won't sacrifice, the really important thing. Night out with friends, boozing, that type of stuff. Yeah, I can do without that. Go to a show and put my time in. But always, I'm really cognizant about making sure that I make time for, like I said, the people that support me.
Nice. All right, this is your time. Anything that we didn't cover, sell your merch, give us your social media, all of that.
Oh, the merch. I handle all my merch. So if you want any merch from me, I'm putting in new orders soon. Please follow me on all social media. I use Twitter. I use Instagram the most. I'm not cool enough to be on TikTok. I'm afraid of TikTok. I don't get TikTok. I don't want to be on TikTok. I'm terrified of it. So if you want to find me on Twitter and Instagram, it's at Big Trouble BB. B as in Ben, B as in Ben. Message me, follow me. I'll get back to everybody. I'll talk to you if you want to talk wrestling. If you want to shoot the shit about something else, I shoot the shit about something else too. I sell all my merch through me. I'm not on any website or Pro Wrestling Tees or any of that stuff. I'm not on any of that stuff. Everything runs through me. So if you have any merch requests or you see anything, please feel free to reach out. I'm always posting about merch. I got a new shirt coming out right now. Limited run of this shirt, probably the softest shirt you will ever wear. And it's coming out soon. It is the Sun Never Sets on a Cool Guy limited run shirt, which is coming out soon. So If you want that one, please feel free to DM me. I'm going to put the order in within the next week or two, so that's so please get that out.
On June 19th, will you have some merch for people to buy?
I will definitely have merch June 19th. I got hats, I got koozies, I got shirts, tank tops, all that good stuff. So bring money June 19th. Because, you don't want to go in the summer without Big Trouble merch. Believe me, you really don't. You don't want to be that guy sitting around in the summer without a fresh Big Trouble Ben Bishop tank. They're going to look amazing. Believe me. Take it from me. I'm not even trying to be biased, a little biased, but it is going to be the most comfortable wrestling shirt you will ever own. I'll leave it at that.
Guys, that's the Earthquakin', Pillar Shakin', leader of the Meat Pop Express. Big Trouble, Ben Bishop. Ben, it has been a blast having you on Can Crushers. I can't wait to see you on June 19th. I can't wait to see you raise some hell in the ring. And I don't know, what else can we expect from you here?
You're going to expect a 7-foot guy with a 10-foot personality. That's what you're going to expect. I'm a guy who's going to, I'm loud, I'm fun. I'm going to get the crowd into it. I love going out there. I've always been a showman. So you believe me, Chad's going to definitely appreciate my presence in Dubois, Pennsylvania.
Chad should be eating a 16-foot boot.
Chad can eat a 6. I wonder if he could. All this working out he does. I'd like to see if he could.
Follow Chad Miller on Instagram. He eats half the other time that he's not working out.
That's the two things about Chad: just weights and food. Huh?
That's it. Steaks and weights. He should have been the real Otis.
Yeah. He has to work out all the time. All the food I see him eat, geez, he'd be 500 pounds.
Right. All right, Ben, we'll let you go. Thank you for stopping by again.
You got it, Mark. You have a good one, man.
Tell me that guy isn't right up Can Crusher Nation in our wheelhouse. Big fan of Shane Douglas and Ricky Morton. They've taught him a lot of things. That's awesome. Working with our homeboy, Al Snow, as well. And getting to hang out with Jerry Lawler a little bit. That's pretty cool. That really is pretty cool. You've heard us talk to Gilbert before, so you know if Gilbert likes Big Trouble Ben Bishop, and then he directed him over to Ellsworth, this guy is going to be one hell of a guy to watch at Ballpark Brawl on June 19th. And he's going to have to try some of Kelly's spaghetti and tuna fish. I'm really excited to see what he thinks. After this, we talked a little bit. He's still pretty sketch about it, but I know he is going to like it. D1 basketball player, guys, you heard everything there. This is the time you've been waiting for. This is what you want to know. As I said, the link is attached to this. If you're seeing it on Facebook, it's in the post. If you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify or anything like that, the link is in the description of what's going on. Tickets go on sale. They have been on sale. We've been pumping this up on Can Crusher, the Facebook page and everything. They're on sale now. We've had this link everywhere. But those that are just catching up. Bleacher seats are $15. Field seats are $20. And the VIP, which is field seating and a meet and greet prior to the show with an autograph mat, $30. Guys, $30 for VIP, and you're going to get something to have everybody sign, and we're talking everybody. People that we've already announced, people that we haven't announced. So you're talking about Vicious Vicky. You're talking about Big Trouble Ben Bishop. We're talking about Lady Frost. We're talking Al Snow. Jax Dane. Crimson. Cash Flow. The list can go on and on. You're going to get all these autographs on one mat during the meet and greet. $30. It's going to be a hell of a show. Make sure you get your tickets now. They are going, which is pretty awesome. But, again, I'd like to thank Big Trouble Ben Bishop, the 6 foot, 12 inches. Let's see if I can do this right. Earthquakin', Pillar Shakin', leader of the Meat Pot Express.
for coming on Can Crushers. This was a great time. Ben, thanks. We'll be seeing you with a dish of spaghetti and tuna fish. But until then, remember, just because you're trash, it doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.